Hey guys, wanted to go ahead and do a review of the Inawaken Dawn Mistwood, not to be confused with the Inawaken Dawn or the Inawaken Twilight. It's basically the Dawn Mistwood. Just a few things to note. Before I go on further, I'm going to go ahead and put some notes on the screen. Please note that the notes are a little bit different from the video to save you time and to save me time. Okay, great. Let's get right into it. So, the Inawaken Dawn, there are a few things you should know, which I didn't know initially. So, on the cable itself, there actually is the nozzles kind of put in on the side here. Now, in this case, you'll see, but the way it actually is when you first open it, there's these nozzles that are on the side of it, and these are not just for decoration. These are actually nozzles that you actually put into the IEM when you take it out, and it'll actually change the sound of the IM, which is kind of interesting because usually these are actually put in like some little baggie or kind of like on the side, but this is the first time I've actually seen it where it's actually on the cable itself. So that's kind of creative, actually kind of interesting. That being said, so the silver nozzle, there's a silver nozzle and a gold nozzle. I find that the gold nozzle actually is a little bit brighter. To me, it sounds a little brighter and the bass is a little leaner. And then to me, the silver nozzle the bass is a little bit like thumpier, and then the vocals are a little warmer and a little fuller. So I actually do prefer the silver nozzles on these, but your mileage may vary. The other thing that's interesting is the actual ear tips itself. So these look like more like standard ear tips, but these, when you look at them really close, you'll see that the holes are very, very, very tiny. It's almost like Kiwi Ears Flex ear tips, where you're not going to get a lot of treble in here. You know what I mean? At least I don't think so. And so I found that in the end, I actually just settled on these, and I really like the sound of these. They kind of interesting ear tips, by the way. Overall, what do I think about the sound? This is a huge improvement over the original Inawaken Dawn. The problem with the Inawaken Dawn was that it was lean with vocals, lean on bass. It was like kind of like leanish, and this is good. Like the vocals are nice and full, and a little warm tilted. The bass is substantially better. Now the only thing that is wrong with this IM is that, or something you should note, is that if you crank up the volume on areas that are sibilance, it will definitely like I have score. We'll talk about that later, but it can get spicy. So that's just something to note. So it doesn't smooth those out as well as other IMs. Okay, well, let's get right into it. How would I describe the sound of this? I honestly, basically, you'll look at my notes and you'll see Critical Divine. And you'll see that the graphs are very close. That did not come out of thin air. Okay, because the way I look at graphs is I look back at it afterwards because an IM reminded me of it. And so this and it's pretty close to the Critical Divine. When you look at Hawaiian BB's graphs and then you look at JTIS's graphs on a 711 coupler, this maps pretty close to the Divine, except that this has a little bit more bass compared to the Divine, but the Divine is a little bit warmer, just by a smidge. But the key difference is when you crank up the volume on areas of vocal sibilance, where then this definitely gets really spicy, whereas the Divine isn't as harsh in sibilance. And I'll go kind of more about that later. Okay, so bass. What would I say the bass is? The bass is actually pretty good on here. I wouldn't say it's A, because A means it's perfect. I would say this is actually, it's good. I would give it a grade of B. The sub bass in the background sounds actually more correct. Like, I remember thinking to myself that I think it sounds correct, but I could see a bass head thinking, oh, I wish it had more bass, you know. But it's kind of like, to me, it sounds actually like like I said, if this is like, oh man, I wish you had a little bit more bass, and if this is like, where is your bass? And this is like, holy crap, this is like too much bass. This is more correct for sub bass. That's the way you're likely to hear it differently, likely, right? So, but to me, it sounds pretty dang correct. For female vocals,
Golden moon, diamond stars, in a moment you and I.
I'm going to go and give this a grade of B+++++, but not quite an A. Because A means it's like, A. You know what I mean? And there are many IMs I've ranked A, which I think have better vocals than this. But this is actually pretty damn good. You know what I mean? I would just say like, it's like a B+++++. It's really, really good. The female vocals they're nice and full. They're not thin. They're not pitched up. They're not pitched high. They're not compressed kind of sounding. They're very full and natural sounding, but it's not quite perfect, but it sounds really, really good. I would say generally I would give it like a high B++++. You can read my notes on the details. The key difference is IMs that I would say are S tier are like, they just blow me off my freaking chair. It's not that good, but it's like basically, and I wouldn't say these are better than Crinier Reference in terms of like the female vocals on that, and it definitely ain't as good as like Misty Blue, which blow these away in my opinion, and it's not as good as like Civica Q, but it's pretty damn good, right? So I would give this like a grade of like B+. For instrument harshness, I would actually say it was pretty smooth. That is actually where I initially thought, oh, maybe this is like a smooth IEM, because on instrument harshness, it seems to be pretty smooth. Like I cranked, like I didn't even have to lower the volume down on the Luna track. It was handling it quite well. So my guess is that when it comes to instrument harshness, it handles it quite well. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is male vocals.
But all the miles that separate.
So for guy vocals, wait a second, I need to rewind back. I didn't even talk about what this actually sounds like tuning wise. This sounds like, if I had to describe the sound of this IEM, it's like a neutral bright done right, or you could almost think of it as a slight U-shaped IEM. Like it's got a good amount of bass, but it's not bass heady, right? But it's definitely got more than a lot of lean, weakish bass kind of IEMs. And then it's got a little bit of a tilt and treble, but it's pretty level-headed. You know what I mean? Because it's not, I would not call this a V-shaped IM. I would not call it a warm IM. I would not call it a neutral IM, but it's kind of almost there. I would not call this a bright IM per se, okay? But take a look at the pictures in my notes, because it actually, a picture says 1,000 words. It actually breaks it down, but you can see that I'm getting confused actually describing what this sounds like. But the fact that it maps pretty close to the Clinical Divine actually does make sense. It's kind of in that box. You know what I mean? It's so, like, I'm not saying this sounds like a Clinical Divine. I'm saying that's like the closest comparison I can think of. Anyway, male vocals, I would say it's a grade of B. I thought it was good, but it's not great. It's hard to explain because it's not like any one thing I can pinpoint that it sounds wrong. Like, because the guy vocals don't sound, the problem is, and this is more subjective, it's that it doesn't flatter male vocals. They don't sound like, it doesn't flatter them. It just sounds kind of like how they should sound. And that actually kind of makes sense, because what I did, and you guys know this, I do this, I wear the IM, and then I use a neutral microphone to get a sense of what it's doing to my own voice. And it pretty much, all it did was like, it feels like just a smidge of bass, like a little bit, and a smidge of treble, like almost, like pretty much almost no change compared to a neutral microphone, but it was like a little bit more bass and a little bit more treble. So it's kind of like, I was just saying, I made a diagram. It's like a little bit of bass and a little bit of treble, but it's like just ever so slight on each side. In other words, this isn't veering too far from neutral, right? Or my subjective notion of it, right? It's not. In fact, even when, like I said, this is like pretty close to Clinical Divine, the way it sounds like, at least subjectively to me, with my ears and my subjective thoughts and my particular ear tips that I use. You may hear it differently, as always. the soundstage on this felt wide, like just like pretty damn wide. Okay, so I would say that's all I can really say. You know what I mean? I would say the sibilance, it's pretty bad on this, actually. I would say it's actually, well, it depends on what you think. Are you the kind of person that thinks sibilance is good? Then that's good. Are you the kind of person that thinks sibilance is bad? Then that's bad. I can't believe I'm saying this because I literally had posts, people saying like, why does he do that test? Like, if you think it's bad, it's bad. If you think it's good, it's good. Anyway, what does it sound like? On sibilant tracks, when I play sibilant tracks,
Sun is down, freezing cold.
In season 7, episode 6 of Seinfeld.
they sound sibilant. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't hide it. It doesn't smooth it. It will not smooth it. You will hear it as it is. But for music, for enjoying music, that means that on vocals specifically, when you get those kind of sound, it's going to get really harsh in your ear, right? Especially at a little bit higher volumes. So watch out. Definitely. Okay. Yeah. So, comfort on these are excellent. I was able to wear these all day, pretty much no problems. So yeah, that's kind of my overall thoughts regarding this IEM. And yeah, you guys have a great day. Okay, bye.